I categorically believe that my business would not be what my business is today if we even were remote working 1 day a week. Okay. And that isn't because we can't embrace technology and use Zoom or the rest of it, but culturally, what we've created could only have been created by everyone being together all of the time. I truly believe that. I also feel that given what I do for a living and who my clients are, I rent office space for a living. Literally, that is what I do. So if I don't use an office, it's just ridiculous. Like I have to. I'm part of the sector. I've got to embrace. I'm not going to sit at home 3 days a week. Like, I love the office.
Right, Shaun, thanks so much for jumping in today. I know you've got a busy schedule, but there's loads of things I want to ask you about. Firstly, you jumped from Colliers to setting up your own thing, April 2021, bold move.
Yes.
What is that?
Well, that was my second jump. So if we go back a little bit further, I actually set up my first business in 2010. So in the eye of the global financial crisis.
Yeah.
That was a business called Hatton Real Estate that we'll come back to because it's relevant as part of my current story. That business we operated for 5 years. We then sold our business to Colliers, worked there for 5 years, and then the eye of the pandemic, we have a fetish for opening businesses in the eyes of storms, basically. So the first one was in the global financial crisis. The second business was set up in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
Wicked.
It's cool. So, I mean, just to give you some flavour around what our business or your audience, some flavour as to who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
So back in 2010, when we set up Hatton Real Estate, we kind of identified that commercial property was very, very backwards and old-fashioned in comparison to other industries. And they were not just other property industries like the residential industry, but or residential agency, but kind of all industries. It was just incredibly backwards. The way it marketed, the way it spoke about itself, it was kind of like an archaic format. And in 2010, we kind of recognized that there was an opportunity for, at the time I was 27, the press ended up calling us the Facebook generation of agents because we basically identified there was a window to do things differently. And we kind of embraced social media we were one of the first adopters, if not the first adopter in commercial property agency to use social media as part of our mainstream marketing. And it kind of grew tentacles from there. And I think the best way for me to describe Hatton between 2010 to 2016 and now Compton 21 until present day, if we imagine that Hatton was the iPhone 10, Compton is the iPhone 16. Principally, they do the same things. I mean, the iPhone 10, the iPhone 16, they make calls, they send messages, you can go on the internet. We are principally, Hatton and Compton does principally the same thing. Compton is just more modern, slicker, better battery life, more powerful. So this is a reincarnation of our first business, but with the same kind of beliefs and mission that we want to disrupt the current norm because we don't think it's good enough.
And that's your mission, to disrupt the current norm?
Yeah, I mean, one of our many missions. But yeah, I think we often say kind of be bold, be brave, be different. And you'll hear me say, you might hear me refer to that in a lot of ways because I think a lot of our beliefs in terms of how we want our business to run is quite similar to the advice we give our clients when it comes to development, refurbishments, repositioning. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so not only is it something that we do for ourselves, but it's something that we translate onto our clients. There is a kind of a continuation of that messaging.
Yeah. So a client's looking for a new space and they'll come to you because they'll sell their space.
Well, we do a variety of things. So first of all, our area of specialism, if you like, is the Eastern City fringes. So we are the lead agency business in that district, which includes Clerkenwell, Farringdon, Old Street, Shoreditch, Aldgate, Whitechapel, Hackney, Islington, Camden, King's Cross. It's kind of that kind of arc around kind of that sits between the city and the West End. And we have a number of different service lines. So we dispose of office space. So if you're a landlord, you need to get rid of your office, we can help you. If you're an occupier who wants someone to hold their hand through the process, help them find a new building, we can do that. We do that on both the leasing side, but also the capital market side.
Yeah.
On the capital markets, we do a huge amount of kind of capital markets work where we're kind of buying, selling development sites and investments. We have a serviced office brokerage. We've just set up a marketing business. And there's a lot more to come. But so it's really brokerage in the core.
Yeah.
Brokerage at its core, leasing and capital markets.
That's amazing. And you touched really quickly, but I want to dig into it. You set up a studio, a branding buildings. I think it's literally genius. I think brand is so important on so many levels, giving something a story, giving something a character, something that someone can emotionally buy into. You're the first people that do that.
There have been others who have done it.
Within an agency?
Within an agency, there are a few, but there are, and I don't think we are the first ever to do it. I think we've just taken a slightly different approach to it.
Okay.
So, listen, we work with a lot of property marketing agencies, and even with the formation of Compton Studio, we're still working with a lot of agencies. And just to be clear, I mean, you've got kind of two levels of it. So what you often find is on some of these larger developments, landlords are very, very happy to obviously have huge marketing budgets, spend a lot of time focusing on the brand, and these things have been really well done for a number of years. Where we felt there was a gap in the market was very much at the kind of the more entry level. So there are, especially given the area we deal in, the size of buildings, we tend to deal with are quite small floor plates. And often what happens is it's quite hard for your private landlords or even your institutional landlords with small spaces to justify a very large marketing spend on what is quite a small floor. Now, given what you said, yes, brand is imperative. Brand is so important in every single touch point in life, whether you agree with it or not. Even the people that don't agree with it, they're subconsciously still buying into brands, even though they don't realize they're doing it. And we felt that for, in particular, a lot of the smaller buildings we deal with, they were missing the opportunity to have a brand because they were, quite frankly, either being priced out of the market because they were relatively small spaces and it was quite hard to justify, or the quality of the brands that were being created were not good enough. So we were like, do you know what? We can do this. We can bring the function in-house. We can make it very, very affordable. And given we've all dealt in the area for 25 years, I mean, I've been here for 24 years, my partner slightly longer, we can actually help frame brands that we believe the consumers will want, they'll land well in terms of the market. And it just felt like a no-brainer opportunity.
Yeah.
So far it's going really well.
Yeah, it's
going really well. Yeah, it's going really, really well. We've created some amazing stuff. I mean, one amazing story, and just to show the power of brand.
Yeah.
We were selling there was an architect, a guy called Amin Taha, who had the most incredible kind of unique ground and lower ground floor office in Clerkenwell. And part of the Compton Studio offering is we kind of shoot kind of really kind of high quality video content at a very, very affordable price. And we shot this video and posted it on social media. The next thing we know, Dazeen have picked it up, got in touch, asking if they can feature it. They've then featured it. We've then had a call from someone who's seen the video on the Dazeen platforms. We've arranged it. I mean, cut a very long story short, that contact ended up buying the building. So those things don't happen every day, but we kind of shot a video as Compton Studio thinking nothing of it. One of the kind of leading design editorial businesses picked it up. They've launched it. Buyers come to us, sold the building, client's really happy. And then to move that on, we're then buying another building for Amin because we've now sold his. And just from that one component, not only did he get a great result, but our business is able to kind of leverage off that as well. So.
And the person that owns it has got something to be proud of, a story to tell to its client, its staff. It's not just about selling it; it's about actually giving some value to the people, right?
Stories is I always talk about. It's always about the story. Now, people always ask me what I do, right, for a living, and you've kind of got, am I an estate agent? I mean, that for some reason, people in commercial property don't like being called estate agents. I don't mind being called an estate agent because, quite frankly, I am an agent for estate, so it kind of works. You then kind of got commercial property broker, which just seems like a massive, unbelievably unnecessary mouthful. But really, quite frankly, I'm in sales. I'm in sales and marketing, quite frankly. Like, if you really kind of strip it back and simplify it, I'm in sales and marketing. My expertise, or my area of expertise, is real estate, but I'm in sales and marketing. And listen, if you know anything about sales and marketing, it's all about telling stories. So I'm a good Compton Studio has allowed me, as someone in sales marketing, to be a better storyteller.
Yeah. No, that's wicked. And why did Compton TV come into all of this? Because it's quite quite fun to watch anyway.
It is fun to watch. And listen, it's a long answer to quite a loaded question, but it's important to kind of set the scene in terms of how we're trying to position ourselves. So again, we spoke about in 2010 how we identified a part in the market. There was an opportunity to do things differently.
Yeah.
When we set up Compton in 2021, which is 11 years after our first business, it was much harder to make a big difference because, quite frankly, over the 11 years since we set up our first business, everyone was using social media, everyone was shooting video content. We were the first to do it in 2010, but by the time we got to 2021, we set up our second business, everyone was at it, right? So how can we be different? And the gap we saw for us was about the consumer. Right. So Compton want to make it all about our consumer. So what I mean by that is commercial property, anyone in commercial property is very good at communicating with each other. Okay. So I can be very, very good at talking to my competitor set. All the agents, we talk the same language. We understand what each other are saying. In the same way I can talk to my clients talk to me. We all chat the same language. But what our sector has been terrible at is actually talking to the end user, right? So if I even go back to 2010, look at the early videos we shot then, the language we use, the things we would say, the detail we'd go into, quite frankly, with the benefit of hindsight, the consumers are not really interested in it, or the majority, if it's a 4-part fan call air conditioning system or a VRF system, right? We were going into that level of specifics. The consumer wants to know if it's air conditioned or not, right? Yeah. So there was and that's just one of hundreds of examples where we were pushing a narrative that we thought the consumer would like to hear, but in hindsight, it's like a load of nonsense. We were talking property chat. And what we've identified with Compton is a direction where we want to target the consumer. We want to be, so the word or the brand Compton has been done in a way that was kind of not traditional. We've opened a coffee shop beneath our office building. The way we do Compton TV, the kind of films we shoot, the way we voice, or the voice we have on social media platforms, it's all driven to be much more consumer facing, because we believe that in the world we live in, with the ease of transferring of information, the ability to find information, we want to make sure that if a consumer is looking for real estate, we're talking their language. So a long way of answering that question is Compton TV is a way for us to communicate with the consumer, not necessarily with the property market. But we kind of feel that if we can talk to the consumer, the property market kind of just falls in line, really.
We'll pick it up anyway. Yeah. So, no, I'm very passionate about brand and sales marketing, I guess.
We are all sales marketing.
Yeah, and so just to see someone doing something fresh, something innovative, doesn't necessarily need to be wildly expensive. It's just looking at the same thing but in a different way.
Exactly.
It just stands out.
I'm hoping a follow-up question for that might be about real estate, because actually, as I said at the kind of the kickoff, kind of everything that we're trying to do in terms of our brand and the way we kind of present our business, it translates into the same theory and practice when we're advising clients. So should I give an example?
Yeah.
So I've led myself into that question, but I just think given what you do, given hopefully who your audience is, I think this hopefully will resonate with you and a lot of people. So I'm going to talk about my market, but this is, actually, I don't need to talk about my market. I can talk about the whole UK as far as I'm concerned. So pre-COVID,
Yeah.
Okay. Generally speaking, in most parts of the UK, the metrics of office supply versus office demand were virtually identical. It was what I called kind of a perfect storm. You had supply, demand. It was like a conveyor belt. Supply would come on, demand was there to pick it up, and we had this 8 to 10 year period from the global financial crisis of just kind of consistent goodness, right? COVID then obviously happened, and it's completely upset the balance, like significantly. It basically took supply and demand there, it took supply to the roof and demand to the floor. So it's completely kind of messed around with the kind of the economic structure of our industry, and it's kind of impacted things quite a lot. So the market's become much harder. I mean, significantly harder. And obviously, when you've got a lot of supply and not a lot of demand, it's tough. So let me ask you a question, right? So would you rather create a product that the whole market thought was it was okay? It's a nice product. It's nice, right? Or would you rather create a product that 50% of the market thought was horrendous? They hated it. It was not for them. Or would you rather, sorry, let me rephrase that. Would you rather create a product that the whole market thought was nice, or would you rather create a product that half the market thought was disgusting and the other half of that market thought was the best thing they've ever seen?
That one.
Of course you would, right? But most people don't do that. So most landlords, the default position is we don't want to alienate anyone. We want to keep the maximum market available to us as possible. And I respect that view. However, when market conditions get more difficult, it's a bit of a challenge, because if I take you out to look for a new showroom or a new office, and you're out looking for 5,000 square feet, right now there's probably 20, 30, maybe even 40 options for you to see. Now, if you go and see, let's call it 30, if you go and see 30 options, and 28 of them are pretty much identical. They've got the same light fittings. They've got the same floor finishes. They've got the same furniture. So you've got 28 that all do that, and then you've got 2 that are completely out there, right? The point is, even if you wanted to go for one of the 28, the way you're probably going to think is, okay, they're all pretty much the same. Who's going to give me the best deal, right? So it's a race to the bottom. Who's just going to give me the cheapest rent, the biggest amount of tenant incentive, most flexibility? And that's kind of what you do. Whereas if you were one of those people with those 2 buildings, actually you're like, I actually really want that.
I want something different.
I want that. And do you know what? Yeah, he might want like £5 a foot or £10 a foot more than everyone else, but I kind of it's different, and I want that. And I think, I mean, we're 2 days after we're filming this 2 days after the US election, right? And I'm not going to sit here and compare real estate to Trump, because I sort of am. But if you look at Donald Trump, and I'm not saying I'm a supporter of Donald Trump, but if you look at, he was quite a polarizing character. Right?
He was on the brand education.
Half the country hate him, but clearly over half the country love him. Hence, he's won the election, right? And I'm not saying that we should convert real estate into a Trump mentality, but I do think it kind of works. Don't be, as far as we're concerned, whether it's Compton, the products we're dealing with, we would rather not be nice for everyone. We would rather be, I really don't like those guys, I can't bear to use them, their chat is awful. But for everyone who says that, I reckon there's kind of at least another person, if not 2 people, but they're doing it a bit differently. And the same goes to real estate.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. But I do find that even Apple, they design stuff for designers. They don't give a shit about everyone else. And they're just they're doing stuff for designers, but then it just becomes mainstream.
Yep.
Because it's kind of, I don't know, it's just about being different, about standing out, about sticking to having values for a start, having a vision, and then actually executing that and sitting on that. I mean, I think a lot of people just don't have the vision in the first place, but that is kind of that is the piece that they've done so well. And then it's become mainstream.
Totally.
So I think that's people don't need to be afraid if they are doing the standout thing and now attracting 50% of the market, it will become mainstream.
It's funny, so growing up I've been in real estate since I was 16, right? So basically got kicked out of school, didn't go to uni, didn't get a degree. I kind of just got going. And I remember probably when I was like 19, 20, I went to a kind of a property launch in the city, and I was wearing brown shoes, right? And a few of the kind of the older school were like, can't wear brown shoes, like you can't wear brown in town. It's like that stupid mentality. So with that, I went out and bought more brown shoes, brown suits, brown ties. I just because there's people have always done things in a certain way doesn't mean that that's necessarily the right thing moving forward. And as I said, we often talk about how we've tried to position our own brand because it's quite similar to the advice we give. Whether it's about creating a brand for the real estate or even just on the refurbishment projects, going back to that point, especially in a bad market, you've got to create a point of difference. And I just feel that that's in I mean, I get a lot of kind of young guys come to see me. They kind of see me as someone who's like boy done good kind of vibes, didn't go to uni. They're like, how'd you do it? And I always kind of say similar things. I mean, I do have some basic fundamentals where you have to work hard. I mean, I work incredibly hard, but apart from all those other bits, it's you've got to try and stand out. You need to have a USP. And by creating a USP, you might not keep everyone happy, right? I know there's a lot of hate for stuff we do. There is, and that isn't just from our competitors. I know that people find some of the stuff we do kind of cringy. I've heard comments in the past about lack of professionalism, which I think is an absolute nonsense, by the way. But there is hate out there. But quite frankly, I'm not saying it's the hate that drives me, but if I wasn't getting hate, or if we weren't getting hate, I actually think we'd be doing something wrong. Because it goes back to that, you don't want to be nice to everyone. You've got to create a bit of difference.
Yeah, and that's a strong message for anyone listening, to be fair. Just business. Just business messages. But going back, you're talking about being 16, 17, 18, 19, brown suits. What was one of the first deals you did?
So my first ever deal was for a limousine company. So most people's first deals, right, is if they're in office, I don't know, it'll be a little office somewhere or a retail shop somewhere. But I had this call from a limousine company. We're a limousine company. We hire out executive cars. We need a storage for our vehicles in zone 1.
Okay.
That was it. And I ended up acquiring them a 9,000 square foot warehouse behind Bayswater Station. So that was my first deal. Other than it was quite big for my first deal, there's kind of nothing special about it.
How did it come about?
So my first job at 16, as I just left school, my dad's mate ran a very, very small commercial business. He wanted a junior to kind of just do a lot of the dog work. So kind of got the job, £5,000 a year salary. I had a private office on the corner of Marylebone High Street and Devonshire Street. It was bizarre. I had this little office with a desk, a phone, no computer, and a fax machine. And every morning, back then, used to get something called the Estate Agents Clearinghouse. So today it's obviously all online, but the way agents used to market to other agents, they used to be via the Estate Agents Clearinghouse. And every morning you get like a pile of A4 piece of paper about that thick. And through that, you kind of see all the different buildings that were on the market. That was the way of transferring the information. And by the way, I'm not that old. I'm only 40. So this was like 25 years ago. So it wasn't actually that long ago, but that was how I kind of dealt with it. I had a phone and I had this stack of details and the phone would ring. What are you looking for? And I'd look through the papers, see if there's anything that was suitable. And that was kind of the way it happened.
So it wasn't like connections network, people that you knew?
No, it was just, I had a phone and a stack of pieces of paper. And I kind of just, well, that was not easy, but that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think it's changed. I mean, listen, everything has changed since then. We don't kind of do it like that anymore. There's a lot more kind of, skill to it now. Not that there wasn't skill to it then, but it's just a different world now, basically.
Yeah. So today, what's happening? What's big out there? If it's one you can't talk about, just talk about a recent one that's gone past.
Listen, I've always got to be careful about talking about certain deals. I mean, I've just done one. I think I've just done one, which is maybe my favourite deal I've probably ever done.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Need to know why, of course.
I can't tell you what it is yet, but and listen, it's never normally about size, right? It's not about how big was the building or how big was the fee. I think the deals that I like the most are the ones where I know it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't involved. And I know that sounds quite arrogant, but there are situations where there are plenty of situations where we are the facilitator, and we make things happen, but it still probably would have happened if there was someone else there. But there are plenty of deals that do happen. And there was one that happened recently where we were selling a building. We bought it to market. We were unable to get the price we wanted. We then found a buyer for it, and very long story short, it didn't happen. The property was withdrawn from the market. The buyer started to disappear and do other things. And using kind of my contact base, I'd like to think leveraging my reputation in terms of giving the right advice and making people listen to me, we managed to bring it all back to life. It's going to be an amazing deal for the market. It's an amazing deal for our business. But it's annoying. I can't go into the specifics, but as I said, my favorite deals are where I know it couldn't have happened without me.
Yeah.
And they do happen.
And what does happening with you look like?
What do you mean?
Tapping it. If it couldn't have happened without you, is that because of your knowledge or your contacts?
It's a combination. In this particular one, it was a combination of all of it.
Yeah.
It was dead, and it was kind of resurrected. And again, it's going to maybe sound really awful, but I don't think anyone else would have been able to have resurrected it in the way I did. The irony is the deal was actually, well, there is no irony. It was pulled back from the dead. And again, I remember there was a deal before LinkedIn moved into the Ray. That building was the former Guardian building. And in 2008, when I was working for someone else, we were mandated with getting rid of the old Guardian building in the middle of the global financial crisis. It was a dead rubber. It was impossible. And we let the whole thing. It was at the time before the Ray was built. That was a 50,000 square foot building. It was totally dilapidated, having Guardian had been in there for 25, 30 years. And we let the entire building during the financial crisis when no one was taking space, let alone dilapidated space in Farringdon. And we let that in its entirety. And again, that was another one of those deals where through pure grit and determination, we managed to get it through. So for me, the best deals are not the biggest. Often the best deals are often the smallest, but it's the ones where I can sit back once the deal is done and be like, do you know what? That wouldn't have happened without me. And as I said, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen, it's nice.
It's happy, yeah. Making an impact.
Exactly.
I don't think you need to worry about it sounding awful, though. I think it is. Everyone wants to have a positive impact in the world and to make a difference. And if you're doing that, hold your head up, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But going forwards, in the future, what would be a dream space to let, other than just you having an impact on it? Where are we going to be? Are you going to be letting space on Mars?
We're not going to be letting space on Mars, I don't think. So what does the future look like? I think we're at a really interesting point in the market. I feel, and I don't know about you, so I know you're in property, but you're not in the property that I'm in.
No, so probably overlap, but
they totally and the rings do link for sure. But I think that we have a bit of an issue at the moment in our sector. So, I mean, there's too many types of office: conventional, serviced, fitted, Cat A, Cat A plus, Cat B, managed plus. I mean, it is a avalanche or a sea of confusion and chaos. I really do believe that, and we Compton, on a bit of a mission to kind of simplify this process, right? So let's play a little game, right? Where did you last go on holiday?
Where or when?
Where?
I'm Caribbean.
Where did you stay?
I'm in Trinidad and Barbados.
Okay, and what did you stay in?
Actually a family.
Okay, you've ruined my.
I've ruined my story. It's going to butter it out. I stayed in Sandy Lane on the Hilton.
Right, perfect. Okay, So you stayed in a hotel.
Yeah.
That's the end. That's the end of our. Oh, very nice. Stayed in a hotel. That's the end of our. That's the end of my question.
Yeah.
What would be weird is if I asked you, were you bed and breakfast? Were you half board? Did you have a drinks package? Did you have access to the water park separately? Right. And I think that's what office space has. It's become very, very confusing. So for me, office space should be office space. Whether it's serviced, managed, conventional, fitted, unfitted, whatever it is office space. And I feel that our market is overcomplicating the narrative here. We need to go back to simplifying it. Let's talking about the consumer. The consumer doesn't care about these labels. What the consumer wants is, I like that office. How much does it cost? I want to take it, right? I feel like we in the commercial property world have overcomplicated the narrative significantly. I think we need to get back to a hotel. So where'd you on holiday? Trinidad and Tobago. Where'd you stay? At a hotel. End of story. With us, it's like a long list of all these options. And I feel that office space is office space. In the same way that you've got different hotels that have different levels and different services, office space needs to be the same. Whether the office is owned by British Land or Land Securities or Doe in London, or it's run by the Office Group, Regis or WeWork, everyone is providing office space just with different standards and different offerings. And I feel that on my mission for the next 5 years is to really try and simplify the message to the consumer, because I just think it's got unnecessarily complicated.
I never thought of it like that, but you would never ask if someone stayed in an Ibis or if they stayed in a
a hotel.
It's just a hotel.
It's a hotel.
Yeah.
Why should offices be any different? We've overcomplicated it. You go on to any of these property portals and it is a sea of chaos. You've got people quoting prices in per square foot. You've got people quoting them on a monthly. You've got people quoting them on an annual. Fitted, not fitted, different prices for this, different prices. I'm like, again, going back to what I said before about the consumer, right? At the end of the day, whether you're a landlord or whether you do what I do, all you care about is making sure you have a product that the consumer wants. And our industry is just overcomplicating the narrative, which is making it harder for the consumer to make a decision. It's so backwards. So my mission is simplify the process, like hotels.
Okay, nice. I like it. So we're going to be seeing Cat A just going to be a little
It's just
detailed.
It's office. It's office.
Later on.
It's a bit like if you when you go on the Hilton website and you go to your room categories, you could have a single, a double, a king, a suite. It's the same thing. But all these labels and all these titles and all these, it's just unnecessary. It's got to stop.
Love it. I mean, only because we have you talk about right back at the start about your industry being really archaic, and it's just we are in exactly the same space. Like, you wouldn't believe how archaic and just across every single level. So making things simple, let's just keep it simple, is just so strangely challenging. Like, it's to get people to think differently, to change people's way of thinking, to change people's way of consuming information, like all that sort of thing. So yeah, I get it and I love it. I'm not going to let you go without talking about not working from home. And
I really thought I got through this one.
No, you're not. You're not going to get through it, because I think it goes back to this whole brand, like, kind of divisive thing, but in a positive way.
It was never right. So the not working from home movement, it was honestly during COVID. I literally just started this hashtag not working from home.
Yeah. Become quite famous, so you must do.
I literally get stopped in the street over it. It's bizarre. It's utterly bizarre what's happened.
You've got to be pleased about it.
Of course, as I said, it's like no PR is bad PR, but I do feel I'm quite misunderstood with it. So let me explain. I categorically believe that my business would not be what my business is today if we even were remote working 1 day a week. Okay. And that isn't because we can't embrace technology and use Zoom or the rest of it, but culturally, what we've created could only have been created by everyone being together all of the time. And I truly believe that. I also feel that given what I do for a living and who my clients are, I rent office space for a living. Literally, that is what I do. So if I don't use an office, it's just ridiculous. I'm part of the sector. I've got to embrace it. I'm not going to sit at home 3 days a week. Like, I love the office. My views are my views. There are lots of people that get very overexcited. I mean, there was one post which really, I mean, it went completely viral, went completely cross-platform, where it was kind of not working from home, get back to work, #5 not 3, right? And it went, and people just felt like I was like questioning their work ethic. I mean, people get very, very vexed about.
It's amazing how much passion comes out in this. It's like a football game.
It's ridiculous, but quite frankly, like, everyone's just got to like get a grip. Like, listen, when you've got the largest companies in the world reversing their work from home policies from you can come in 2 days a week or whenever you fancy, they then changed that to it's 3 days mandated, then it's become 4 days mandated, then it's become, actually, guys, we're back in the office. Like, I don't believe there are any benefits to working from home unless there are, listen, let me rephrase that because that's the wrong thing to say. I think from a business perspective and from a personal career progression perspective, it is absolutely correct to be in the office. I think your business will thrive more by creating that culture and people working together. And I think your personal career will do better if you are within that environment. So that is my belief. However, it is a nuanced argument. There are obviously situations where it is beneficial for people to work from home, whether you're a working mum, even a working dad, whether you've got some commitments that need to be addressed and you can't be in the office. I totally get it. And do I work in the office 365 days a year? No. If my son has got a rugby match at 1 o'clock on a Friday, I'm not going to go into the office for 3 hours, go to the rugby match, then go back to the office. Of course I'm not. I'll work from home, right? Absolutely. I don't know, there's loads of situations. If I had a really, really heavy night and it's a Friday, and I'm like, do you know what? I just haven't got the head for it today. I've got loads of work to do. I'm going to sit at home and do it. I get it. I do it. I do it, right? I do work from home from time to time. But to mandate it as a weekly thing, 3 days on, 2 days, I don't get it. I don't get it because I think it's bad for business. I think it's bad for business culture, but fundamentally, I think it is awful for personal career progression. And anyone who wants to come at me with an argument over that, very, very happy to look forward to. But those are my beliefs. I'm entitled to them. I also respect that other people have got different opinions. This is not a black and white argument. There is a sea of grey in between. Those are my beliefs. And they're my beliefs because of what I've managed to do in my career and the 2 businesses I've managed to create.
Yeah. And that's wicked.
So there you go.
No,
that is my argument.
I find it genuinely like humorous, like funny, how much drama is around a location. Because I just think everybody actually does work from the office all the time at Stansons, but it's not because I've ever made them or not made them. It's just because they do. I don't really know. It's not really been a topic of conversation. It's just what it is. However, like you say, people have personal things crop up and they will be at home. Big deal.
Totally.
We were all on the cloud way before COVID because we needed to travel across London, work in a coffee shop between meetings. So it wasn't about sort of suddenly facilitating for COVID. Was quite easy for us from that perspective. We weren't suddenly jumping onto IT teams. But yeah, I'm a massive believer in culture. I'm a massive believer in like people connection with people and people flourishing and that sort of thing. So, it's just amazing how much it's like a sort of rival football game.
I know, but do you know what? When I look at the company I'm in, so the company I'm sharing with my views, you've got Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are both suggesting, or both using, or whether I'm using their narrative or they're definitely not using mine, but
I think they are.
We are subscribing to the same core beliefs, right? Around what's best for your business and what's best for the people within that business. And there is nothing that anyone is going to be able to tell me that will change my views around working from home is better for those two things. I get it. And listen, not everyone is cut the same, right? So I am crazily ambitious, right? And it's not just about the financial rewards, it's about lots of other things. And I believe that for me to maximize my opportunity and create the best situation for myself, I have to be in an office all the time. I want to be collaborating with people. The amount of business we do in our office by people just overhearing things, and I know people talk about these kind of serendipitous kind of things, but it's actually true. It's a legitimate situation. We hear about these deals all the time just from being in the office. And I look back, like I said, I started in the industry at 16. A lot of the people we employ kind of school leavers and young people. And I would just be horrified if they had to be left to their own devices at home. Not because I don't trust them, but what an awful experience for someone as a school leaver coming to the big wide world, wanting to learn their trade, wanting to kind of learn from more senior members, and they're trapped at their kitchen table or their bedroom for, I don't know, 2/5 of the week. I mean, what an absolutely backward way of thinking.
No.
It's very polarizing.
It is.
But the haters have just got to respect the fact that I get you their views, right? And they're entitled to them, but I'm also entitled to mine. And for all the right reasons, I believe I'm right.
Yeah, cool. Love it. And before we wrap up, is there anything you want to shout out, share, anything that we need to know about?
I don't think there is. I think, as I said, I just think for your audience, I think the one thing I would say, whether it's about creating brands, designing products, designing office spaces, don't just try and fit in with what everyone else is doing. Don't kind of be just another product off the conveyor belt. I think we are in a world, and we are still moving in a world where I think people will embrace things that are different. They will value things differently that are more unique. And as I said at the kind of kickoff, kind of be bold, be brave, be different. If I was ever going to get a tattoo, which I don't have, by the way, I'd have 2 tattoos. I'd have be bold, be brave, be different, because those are my core beliefs. And it would also be YOLO. You only live once. So
let me know when you get them.
I'm not getting. I've kind of got to 40 without them, so I kind of I feel like I've missed the boat. But if I were to have tattoos, those would be them.
Cool. What a wicked finishing note. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time.